The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest surviving literary works, originating in Mesopotamia around 2100 to 1200 years before Christ. This ancient epic, recorded in cuneiform script on clay tablets, tells the story of King Gilgamesh, his adventures, heroic deeds, deep friendship with Enkidu, and his ultimate quest for immortality. The story of Gilgamesh was first passed down through oral tradition before being written in Sumerian, Akkadian, and other ancient Mesopotamian languages. The most complete version was discovered in the ruins of the library of Ashurbanipal, an Assyrian king from the 7th century before Christ. However, older fragments suggest that the epic evolved over centuries, incorporating different legends and mythological elements. Gilgamesh, the powerful king of Uruk, was known for his extraordinary strength and wisdom, yet he ruled as a tyrant, oppressing his people instead of guiding them with justice. He was described as 2/3 god and 1/3 human, making him stronger and more capable than any ordinary man. However, his arrogance and unchecked power led him to abuse his authority, forcing his subjects into endless labor, taking what he pleased, and ruling without mercy. The people of Uruk was exhausted and desperate, cried out to the gods for help, begging them to intervene and free them from their suffering. The gods, hearing their pleas, decided to create Enkidu, a wild and untamed man who would be equal to Gilgamesh in strength and serve as his rival. To counter Gilgamesh's power, the gods formed Enkidu from clay, shaping him as a wild primal being who lived among animals, drank from rivers, and roamed the wilderness like a beast. He was untouched by civilization, possessing incredible strength and instincts that made him a formidable force of nature. However, before Enkidu could challenge Gilgamesh, he needed to be tamed and introduced to human culture. The gods sent Shamat, a beautiful temple priestess, to civilize him. She lured him with her beauty, and after spending time with her, Enkidu lost his wild nature. He could no longer run with the animals, but in return, he gained wisdom, reason, and an awareness of human society. Realizing his destiny, Enkidu made his way to Uruk, where fate had already set the stage for an epic confrontation. As he approached the mighty city, he saw its towering walls and grand temples, the very symbols of Gilgamesh's power and ambition. Yet despite the city's splendor, Enkidu could sense the unrest amongst people. He heard whispers of fear and suffering, stories of a king who ruled with an iron fist, taking what he wanted and forcing his people into servitude. Determined to challenge Gilgamesh and put an end to his tyranny, Enkidu entered Uruk, his massive frame and wild presence drawing the attention of the people. The city buzzed with anticipation. Who was this mysterious, untamed warrior, and could he truly stand against their seemingly invincible king? Their fateful encounter took place at the gates of Uruk, where Gilgamesh, as was his custom, was about to enter the temple to assert his dominance. Enkidu, seeing this as an act of arrogance, blocked his path, refusing to let him pass. The tension was palpable as the two giants locked eyes, measuring each other with silent challenge. In an instant, they lunged at each other, and the earth trembled beneath their struggle. The battle was fierce. Two warriors, equally matched in strength, wrestling like wild beasts. Their blows shook the foundations of the city, and the people watched in awe as neither seemed to gain the upper hand. Dust rose around them, the sound of their struggle echoing through the streets. Despite their power, neither could defeat the other. The fight, meant to determine supremacy, instead awakened something far greater: respect and admiration. As they grappled, they recognized in each other a kindred spirit, a strength and courage unlike any they had encountered before. What began as a battle for dominance ended as the birth of an unbreakable friendship. Exhausted but exhilarated, Gilgamesh extended his hand, and Enkidu, acknowledging their newfound bond, took it. From that moment on, they were no longer rivals, but brothers in arms, destined to embark on great adventures together. Their friendship transformed Gilgamesh, softening his tyrannical rule and guiding him toward a path of true heroism. Enkidu, in turn, embraced his role as a warrior and companion, leaving behind the wilderness to become part of something greater, a legendary tale of strength, loyalty, and the search for meaning in a fleeting world. Determined to achieve eternal glory, Gilgamesh and Enkidu embarked on a perilous expedition to the cedar forest, home to the fearsome guardian Humbaba. This monstrous being, appointed by the gods, was tasked with protecting the sacred trees from human intrusion. Humbaba's very presence inspired terror, for he possessed an aura of dread, a voice like thunder, and a face that could paralyze anyone with fear. Driven by his insatiable thirst for greatness, convinced Enkidu that slaying Humbaba would secure their place in history. Though Enkidu, once a creature of the wild, feared the guardian's wrath, he ultimately stood by his friend. Together, they prayed to the sun god, Shamash, seeking divine assistance for the daunting battle ahead. Shamash, moved by their courage, promised to aid them by sending powerful winds to weaken their foe. They journeyed through the vast wilderness. They faced nightmares and omens, signs that the gods were watching. The deeper they ventured into the cedar forest, the thicker the darkness became, and the very air felt heavy with unseen forces. They knew they were approaching Humbaba's domain, where no mortal had ever dared to step. When they finally encountered Humbaba, his roar shook the earth, and his massive figure towered over the trees. His presence was overwhelming, his very breath poisonous like death itself. Humbaba mocked the heroes, warning them that their quest was foolish and that their doom was certain, but Gilgamesh and Enkidu stood their ground. As the monster charged, Shamash unleashed a mighty storm, surrounding Humbaba with 8 divine winds, blinding and immobilizing him. Enkidu struck first, weakening the beast, while Gilgamesh delivered the final blow, cutting off Humbaba's head. As Humbaba lay dying, he pleaded for mercy, promising Gilgamesh servitude and protection if he spared his life. Enkidu, however, urged Gilgamesh to strike him down, fearing that the gods could restore Humbaba's strength. In the end, Gilgamesh ignored the monster's pleas and ended his life, sealing his victory. Though they had conquered the mighty guardian, their triumph came at a terrible cost. Humbaba was a sacred servant of the gods, and his death angered Enlil, the god of earth, wind, and storms. The gods, displeased with Gilgamesh and Enkidu's reckless defiance, vowed that one of them must pay the price for their actions, unaware of divine judgment looming over them. The two heroes returned to Uruk, celebrating their victory, believing they had cemented their names among the greatest warriors of all time. However, their fate had already been sealed. Their defiance against the will of the gods would soon bring devastating consequences. After their triumphant conquest of the cedar forest and the slaying of Humbaba, Gilgamesh and Enkidu returned to Uruk, basking in their glory. Their fame spread far and wide, and their strength became legendary. But their newfound celebrity and heroism caught the attention of Ishtar, Inanna, the goddess of love, fertility, and war. Ishtar, mesmerized by Gilgamesh's handsome appearance, great strength, and undeniable charisma, descended from the heavens and approached him with a bold proposal. She offered him her love, promising him untold riches, divine favor, and an eternal reign of power. However, Gilgamesh, wise to Ishtar's history with her past lovers, spurned her advances with harsh words, refusing to become yet another victim of her manipulations. He mocked and humiliated her, reminding her of the fate of her previous lovers, all of whom had met tragic ends at her hands. Which of your lovers have you ever truly loved? Who among them has escaped misfortune? You have doomed them all, and now you would have me suffer the same fate? I will not be your plaything, Ishtar." Enraged and deeply humiliated, Ishtar ascended to the heavens, furious that a mere mortal had rejected her. Consumed by vengeance, she went to her father, Anu, the god of the sky, and demanded retribution. "If you do not send the bull of heaven to destroy Gilgamesh, I will shatter the gates of the underworld and let the dead rise to consume the living." She threatened Anu, though reluctant at first, feared the chaos she could unleash, so he relented and released the bull of heaven, a monstrous, divine beast of unimaginable destruction. Upon Uruk the bull descended with fury, its mere presence shaking the ground, causing massive earthquakes that swallowed hundreds of people. Rivers dried up, and the once prosperous fields of Uruk turned to dust. No army or warrior could stand against it. The city was on the verge of ruin. Seeing the destruction, Gilgamesh and Enkidu refused to stand idly by. They armed themselves and confronted the celestial beast, knowing that if they failed, Uruk would be reduced to rubble. As the battle commenced, the bull charged with earth-shattering force, goring men and crushing anything in its path. The heroes dodged its attacks, working together to find an opening. At the crucial moment, Enkidu grasped the bull's horns and held it in place, using all his strength to immobilize it. With his companions securing the beast, Gilgamesh delivered a fatal strike, piercing its heart and ending the terror. The people of Uruk rejoiced, celebrating their heroes for once again saving the city from destruction. But their victory was short-lived. After the battle, in a moment of defiance, Enkidu mocked Ishtar, tearing off the thigh of the fallen bull and hurling it in her direction, declaring, "If I could, I would do the same to you." This final insult sealed his fate. The gods, furious that two mere mortals had defied divine will, gathered in council and decreed that one of them must die as punishment. Though Gilgamesh was part god, Enkidu was fully mortal, and so he was chosen to bear the burden of divine wrath. Shortly after, Enkidu fell gravely ill, struck down by a mysterious and fatal sickness sent by the gods. For 12 agonizing days he suffered, tormented by visions of the underworld and the realization that his death was inevitable. As his life faded, he cursed the day he left the wilderness and mourned his fate. Finally, Enkidu succumbed to death, leaving Gilgamesh devastated beyond words. Gilgamesh, devastated by Enkidu's death, faces his own mortality for the first time and is consumed by fear. Determined to escape death, he embarks on an epic journey to find Utnapishtim, the only man granted immortality by the gods. Along the way, he overcomes numerous obstacles. Scorpion men, the tunnel of darkness, the divine tavern keeper Siduri, and the waters of death, but remains resolute. When he finally reaches Utnapishtim, he learns the harsh truth. Immortality is reserved for the gods and is unattainable for mortals. Given one last hope, he retrieves a plant of youth, but a serpent steals it, symbolizing the fleeting nature of life. Defeated, he returns to Uruk, realizing that true immortality lies in the legacy and achievements one leaves behind. The lesson of the Epic of Gilgamesh is that true immortality is not found in eternal life, but in the legacy one leaves behind. The epic explores themes of friendship, loss, human mortality, and the pursuit of meaning. Gilgamesh learns that no hero, no matter how strong, can escape death, but one's name can live on through great deeds, wisdom, and the impact left on future generations. The story teaches that instead of fearing death, we should embrace life, cherish relationships, and strive to create something that will endure beyond our time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating content. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video. The Epic of Gilgamesh influenced later myths, including biblical stories, such as the Great Flood, which closely resembles Utnapishtim's account of how he survived divine destruction. The epic remains a profound meditation on human nature, exploring themes of friendship, power, loss, and the meaning of life. Today, the Epic of Gilgamesh stands as one of the greatest literary achievements of the ancient world, offering timeless wisdom about the human experience.